Kia ora and good morning, everybody. It's great to have you here. This is our sixth CxObytes, and we're really excited to have Lillian today. But we're going to take a break after this one for a week or two, just because we know it's been incredibly busy. We're in level 3 at the moment, and we're heading hopefully to level 2 in a week or two. Lillian and I were just talking about it'd be nice if this was a real cafe and we were actually sitting in it talking over a cup of coffee, which many of us haven't been able to do for many weeks. It'd be nice to be able to actually sit down and talk to somebody different than has been in your bubble. I'm going to come back at the end of the session today. We'll talk about other things we're doing. We are recording today as we have with the previous sessions, and it'll be up on our YouTube channel. So kia ora, Lillian. Welcome to this morning.
Frank. Thank you. It is actually, I almost feel like I am in a cafe. It's quite nice seeing your face.
Sorry, I can't give you a glass of wine or a coffee, although it is 11 o'clock. Can you drink after 11? I suppose you can.
Yes, you can. What happens in lockdown stays in lockdown,
right? Hey, we've started each one of these sessions talking to people about their home setup, but I know you because we had you on our working from home seminar like a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
And you talked about the fact you've worked remotely for quite a while. So do you just want to talk for a minute about how you work remotely?
Yeah, do you mean like in terms of the behaviours or the physical setup? Or
physical. Let's talk about the physical things to start with, yeah.
Physical setup's a little bit different than normal because usually when there's more freedom to come and go from home and work at a cafe or whatever, my husband and I share an office or sit at the kitchen table. Within about 10 days of lockdown, we realised that was not going to work full time. So I'm actually just going to take my laptop and show you what I currently use as my desk, which is an ironing board. Like seriously, and I have like a nice little thing with a diffuser and a water bottle and stuff. So I feel something. But I've been using this ironing board up in a quiet room the whole time now, ever since we realised that we needed a different space. And it works amazingly. I lift it up to do calls like this and put it down to work on. So yeah, but it's very, very different. And the thing I keep saying to people is that working remotely is very different from working in lockdown. Working remotely means that I can just go and perch somewhere and travel around. And so this is very, very different.
Yeah. I suppose your ironing board is like a very cheap standing desk.
And it is.
Yeah,
it is, right. And because of the little grooves in it, it's really good for cord control. Like the little cord pops through, and it's great.
There, everybody, you heard it here. That's a tip from Lillian and what you could do for table.
It's actually the most popular tweet I've ever tweeted was when I tweeted a picture of my my ironing board desk at the start of lockdown.
Hey, look, I know it wasn't one of the questions I was thinking about, but can we come back to this? Working in lockdown is quite different from working remotely, because a couple of days ago, that was mentioned to me as well. My wife, who's a counsellor, was doing some supervision, and they talked about the difference. This is quite a different scenario. So do you want to just talk about how you found it to be different, and what does it mean?
Yes, I think it is completely different. And whilst I've had times of being productive, I've had enormous amount of time being unproductive because you just feel trapped. I think our brains, part of our brain is, regardless of how lucky we are personally in our homes and safe and such, part of our brain is aware that our world is in a crisis and that other people are going through enormous hardship. And that, like, I had a really bad headache for the first couple of weeks, which I just don't get. And I don't have any personal reason for that. But I was just thinking, actually, I think it's just the situation that we're in. So already we're in this strained environment. And then knowing that there's like children in your house that you're trying to educate or that you're monitoring where you normally don't have to do that, that's not usually what it's like at all. And so I found it to be hard. And I usually love working from home. But now that I have a very designated space, I find it really constraining because I usually move around the house quite a bit and then go, I'm just going to get on a bus and go to the city and work for a cafe and get some lunch and go for a walk in between that. And so it just, I think mentally, it's very, very much harder.
Yeah. It has been quite different, hasn't it? Yeah. Hey, look, well, let's talk about leadership because that's what this is about. You're the CEO and founder of Figure Group. I need to keep making sure I don't say Figure NZ, Figure Group.
Sorry, well, it's founder of Figure NZ still.
Yeah, that's true. But it's not in your bio, but I did know, and I did check on your LinkedIn, you were a PE teacher to start with.
It's a
So
true story.
do you want to tell us, in a few minutes, your journey from being a PE teacher to now being a founder of a social enterprise?
Yes. So I became a PE teacher, a high school PE teacher, because it was the best job that I knew existed growing up. I grew up in a small town in Waipukuro in central Hawke's Bay, and so it's like, that seems like a great job. It was either that or the freezing works, and genuinely, like, they were the two things. I was like, yep, this actually seems awesome. And so decided, and I was the first of my family to go to university and to become a PE teacher. And I'm not going to give you that much detail for every year of my life, but kind of fast forwarding through that, as I met people, like I met someone who is the CEO of Massive Software. There's a few different Massives. This was the artificial intelligence-based 3D animation software used for visual effects in movies that came out of Lord of the Rings. And the CEO, who was from America, and she said to me, I really like the way you think. Will you come and work for me? And I just remember thinking, I'm standing in front of these children every day saying, reach for the stars, take opportunities. I have to do that too. And that was my first step. And what was really important about that step is that I had spent 5 years training before. I'd done 4 years of a Bachelor of Physical Education, which had nothing to do with that teaching, but all about your body and stuff. And then 1 year of teaching diploma. And an enormous amount of people said to me, don't you feel like you've wasted all your time? You've spent all that and you've only been a teacher for a year. I was teaching at Kaipara College in Helensville. And it just suddenly made me realise, people think it's more important to be wed to an idea you had when you were 17 than to be brave enough to evolve. And so I've actually learned new information along the way. And so now I'm going to make a different decision. And it was a really fascinating little experience for me, which as soon as I realised that for me, it was more important to take new information and make new decisions, that really set me on a whole different life path. And so from there, I spent 7 years at Massive Software, started as the exec assistant, ended up helping to run the company. We won an Academy Award for the technology. And so I got used to tech and startups, and our customers were all in LA, and we lived there for periods of time. And then became really interested as my whole world was expanding and my thinking was changing and being exposed to more and more information. I became really interested in our country and the settings that we have that mean that we get the outcomes we have. And so I went to work at a think tank called the New Zealand Institute. And so I went from Massive, which was like, you feel like literally like hundreds of things you're juggling at once, to having one question to answer in 8 months and being able to ask the question yourself, kind of thing. And it was amazing. But that's where I learned how to think about things and became a lot more aware of just different parts of our world and how to think about components of society and the economy and the environment and pieces, and understanding the different stakeholders in our country and how they think. And it was through there that I saw data for the first time. And when I saw it, like, I opened up StatsNZ and the OECD database, and it was just like, what? There are thousands of our stories hidden in these numbers, well, not hidden, but in these numbers that most people can't understand. And so it was when I saw that and I realised most people don't have access to these stories, yet they're really valuable regardless of what you are doing or what you care about, whether you're internationalising a company or you want to start a dog grooming business. Doesn't really, like, anything that you care about can be enhanced. Your decisions can be made better if you have data as part of the input. And that was when I realised, actually, I want to make this something everyone can use so that I can impact everything. And so that's what led me to starting Figure NZ.
I just want to come back to, there's a real nugget in there when you talked about PE teacher and making the decision to change and go forward, and recognizing that people or individuals, we're very good at looking at where we are now. And, in accounting terms, because I am an accountant by profession, we talk about sunk costs and how, if you're going to make a decision, you need to be looking forward, make a decision based on that, not what you've sunk into it, for example, because that's gone, right? That's done. That's always going to be there. That's helped you get to this point, but now you're looking at something else.
Yes, and that's actually really, I like that you've added that phrase. So yeah, I'm familiar with that phrase, and that's exactly what it is. And it's actually been something that's made me feel quite sad for a couple of decades now, because it was 20 years ago that I went to uni, and to see so many people who are not like following what they actually care about because they feel like they'll be letting someone down, whether it's them or others, or it's all in their heads. It just seems that there's an enormous amount of people that don't feel like they have the license to say, oh, I have new information now. It's not that I was wrong. I wasn't exposed to other things growing up, and which is fine. But I wasn't exposed to other things, so I couldn't have made a different decision at that point. And especially if you think about now, none of us know what jobs are going to be around in 5 or 10 years. And so my massive hope is that more and more people can feel, I don't know if it's brave or safe enough or whatever it is, that they can go, oh, actually, I can totally change my path, and that's not a failure. I didn't make the wrong decision. It's just that more information is coming to light. And that's, I think, one of the things that any not just leader, but any person, like the more that you can accept that with every step you take, you see more, you get more information. And if you can fold that into your decision-making model, then you get like the best outcomes.
Yeah. Hey, just anybody on the call, if you want to make a question or put in a question for Lillian, there's a Q&A button at the bottom and we can pass it on. We've asked this question of just about everybody, but on your leadership journey, you've just talked about making decisions and moving forward. As a leader, have you got an example of a time? Oh gosh, that sounds like an interview question, doesn't it? Can you think of something where you perhaps didn't, on reflection, you might have done things a little bit differently?
Yeah, there's one time that enormously sticks out for me, and I still reflect on what the right course was. And it's I can't give all of the details for a specific reason, but there was a relationship with a specific organization that went really bad after it had been really good, and I felt that they were just interacting in a really toxic and undermining way. And the way that I responded to that, because it was so damaging and emotional, like when you're a founder of something, and to have someone from an enormous organization feel jealous and try and swish you out, like it was just like, whoa, this is hitting me on all levels. And so my response to that was to cease engaging, because it had been too many kind of things. And I still wonder if there were other ways I could have responded to that. And I think there were other ways. I think that I'm now seeing some full circle stuff happening, which is making me go, oh, okay, I didn't totally screw things up with that. But it was a really interesting experience for me. And it's, I think, partly because I have so much emotion like around, which is a good thing. This isn't like saying that's a bad thing. You're waking up every morning for 7.5 years. You want to have emotion about the thing you're waking up to do. And so when you feel like people are being disingenuous with, or actually attacking what you're doing, there's a few different responses, and I just chose to disengage. Yeah. It's an interesting one. I still reflect on that.
Yeah, I can understand that. Have you got? So we're talking about leadership and your leadership journey just now. One of the things that I've been looking at this week is just the different types of mentors that people need or might be looking for during their journeys. Might be a coach, might be a networker. Hadn't really thought about that, but have you got people who mentored, influenced you on the way through that you learnt a lot from?
Yes. And I would like 100. I would, so my view of mentors and coaches and stuff is a little bit different than than others at times. So the way I see it is that, and this is how I feel about life as well. It's interesting. I reflected on this. A friend of mine said to me, like 10 or years or so ago, she's like, "Lil, you never actually ask what you think you should do." And I was like, "Oh, don't I?" And I was like, "Because I don't think that you're not in the position to know what I should do about anything." Because wherever we are in our lives or as a leader of an organisation, we're the only ones that can see 360 degrees of all of the facets. So to me, that means that you need to, for every single facet, find an expert that can help you understand that better, because you can't be an expert on all of it. And when you have something arise and you're like, "Oh, I don't know how to think about that, who can I talk to?" And so I'll seek out that person with a very specific question. So I don't usually just go, "Can I meet for coffee and talk for an hour and get some generic advice?" I'm like, I will go with a very specific, "I'm trying to do this thing. Is this the right thing to do, or how would you do it?" And I find that to be really, really effective, and that people are always very happy to help. Some of the most influential in terms of the big bricks or the big pieces for me have been my board. Like, I see the value of the board for me and my circumstances to help me be the best CEO. And so I've always selected people that are the right people for different parts of my journey. And whilst I'm still a trustee of Figure NZ, but I'm no longer the CEO. But when I selected Vic Crone, who's now the CEO of Callaghan, and Stephen Allen Hall, who's now the CEO of Tourism New Zealand, the reason I selected them is because money freaked me out, and I needed people that were used to hundreds of millions of dollars that could help me stop looking in the weeds. And and that, so like things like that, like I go, "Oh, I know this is a weakness of mine. I need to find someone who can uffy or like care and support me in this area." And that works really, really well. But I think, because there's someone who often, gets asked for advice as well, and I'm always happy to share and be helpful, but it's impossible to know the entirety of someone else's situation. And so I think taking the responsibility, when you're the person in the middle, of figuring out what is the question that you have, what is the area that you need advice, not just, "This is everything I'm doing, yep. What should I do next?" It's like, that's not the right approach in my view.
Oh, no, look, I'd agree with it. I mean, I've done quite a bit of mentoring over the years, and I would never attempt to tell people what to do next.
Yeah.
Because that's not what mentoring's about. You mentioned in there that about your board, but you've also, and you're not the CEO of Figure now, so you have over the years, brought other people into the organisation that you have created. So you've got an emotional attachment, and now you put in a CEO. What are the sorts of things that you're looking for in a leader as people develop, and particularly, if there's one of our Flint team members, are listening to this, what are the sort of things they should be thinking about that someone like you is going to be looking for?
Do you mean like when I think about how I promoted someone into the CEO role and how
could be anything. Yeah,
it's for like, it's not very helpful, but for me it's all about my sense of somebody.
Yeah.
And I guess that partly is based on feeling their energy and their passion and understanding of what we're doing, and their willingness to just keep moving, I guess. Like I think of Ngāpera Riley, who's now the CEO. She actually started as my board member, and then was like, "Oh, actually," and she became my deputy CEO for a couple of years. And so it was a slow transition. And I think that's really important when you're making a transition out of your organisation if you're a founder. But what I wanted to see from her is just that not that she would like have skills in all of the areas and be great in all of the areas, but that she cared enough to develop skills if she needed them, and to ask questions and not be afraid to say, "I don't know how to do this." Because to me, that's so valuable, is when people can say, "I don't know how to do that," or "That scares me." then you know what you're dealing with, and that
Yeah.
I actually find a really powerful leadership quality. It's when people feel like they have to put up this front and pretend to know, that everything turns to custard.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Hey, look, there's a question that's come through, and it's quite
Okay.
broad. It's
All
quite
right.
broad. So, Lillian, what are you most proud of as a leader?
Yeah, thank you. I think was the transition, handing Figure NZ over to Ngā Pera and stepping away from it, having zero contact, and having the organisation keep going. And the zero contact was planned. There was no drama. I wanted to give her the mana to create her space and not have me hanging on the edge. And it was not what I expected to be my most proud moment, but it was, it made me feel like I had not only created something and founded an organisation, and there are some positive feelings that go with that, but it had been really, really important for me from the start that it wasn't about me. And I have seen in organisations that suffer from founderitis, where the founder is unable to remove themselves, and the damage that causes for everyone. And I couldn't assume that I was immune from that. So even the way I set up my board and the lack of power that I gave to myself at the start was all to do with that. And so when I made the move on the 31st of July last year, and got this beautiful woven, it's not a korowai, I actually don't know the full name for it, that Kiri Nathan did. And we did a process of handing the mauri, or the life essence of Figure NZ, to Ngā Pera, and I put that on and gave her a hongi, and that to me just felt like I had done good.
Yeah.
And then I had a month of zero contact, because I just really wanted the whole team, and I needed a break, but I wanted everyone to re-establish the relationships and everything without me in the mix at all. I felt like that was really important. And then over, the last however many months, it's been amazing to see things come out and just be like, wow, I made something that no longer needs me. And I would liken it to, I don't know, I have 3 stepdaughters now, but I imagine it's like when you send your child off and then they actually don't need you, and you're like, this is the exact outcome I wanted, but yeah. And so there are lots of things, like I think of like over the 7 years or so, like I pulled $5 million into Figure NZ, and I hate sales, and money is not my desired area of focus, but things like that I feel really proud of. But it was that realization that I'd made something that didn't need me. That's probably what gets me the most.
All right, well, we're going to finish up with a last question, which is sort of personal, but not really. This is about, we've been through this pandemic period, so 5 or 6 weeks physically isolated. We've been doing a lot of video, webinars, etc. And we've all felt all sorts of different emotions during that time. Have you got any advice to people who would be listening into this on, just how to keep going?
Yeah, I do. I have thoughts. I think that it's such a time to be gentle with ourselves, and just to acknowledge that we've never been through anything like this. And in living memory, no one's been through anything like this. And that sometimes it's okay not to keep going. Sometimes it's okay to just watch many episodes of West Wing and bed.
It's a great series.
It's totally fine.
Yeah.
And I think, like with our daughter Medicata, who is almost 12, like I've said to her, just like, it's totally fine to cry. It's totally fine to scream into your pillow, to say that you're angry this is happening, to say that you're upset about this, that it's hard, because it's all of those things. And I think that it's not a time to, just be like, yep, I've got this, I'm going to be productive every day, I can do everything I've ever wanted at home. It's not like that. And one of the things that I've been doing for quite a few months since leaving Figure NZ, and I'm establishing a new company, this time not a charity, called Figure Group, and doing a lot of the foundational work and deep thinking on that. And it has been very interesting how hard it is to decouple the feeling of guilt from not doing like productive work. Like for the rest of the world, it doesn't look like I've done anything, and yet I've done so much internal work for my next phase and practical foundational work for the new business. But there's a really interesting kind of point that you can get to where you start disconnecting what you think everyone else expects from you, and actually realizing that you are in the center, and you actually need to like listen to yourself and feel your feelings and think your thoughts, and not take on board everything that's coming at you. Like I would refer to it like from the inner to the outer rather than the outer to the inner. Sometimes from the inner to the outer it's just hard and you need to have a big cry. That's totally fine.
Well, kia ora. Thank you, Lillian. Thank you, everybody, for joining in today, and those of you that watch this later. We're having a week off next week, but we've got a couple of more set up. We've got Charlotte Walsh from Jade Software and Jolie Hodson from Spark lined up in the later in the month. And if you haven't noticed, we've got Tuesday week, we're doing a Flint mega quiz. So anybody and everybody can join in. Honesty is the best policy when it comes to these things, but we're looking to have, just a bit of fun one night. So thanks very much. And Lillian, once again, it's always such a pleasure to talk with you, whether it's like this or personally. So thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. In person next time.
Yeah. Let's get that coffee. Alrighty. Thank you. See ya.
Ka kite o.